What is going on, everyone? It's Rylan with Rylan's Amazing Photography, and today I'm going to be putting the Canon M50 up against a good old iPhone. So what's going to be the better camera for video? I guess we're about to find out. So the first thing that I'm going to be comparing the Canon M50 to the iPhone is autofocus. And let's be honest here, the autofocus on an iPhone probably isn't that great because it's kind of non-existent, but at the same time it does subtly exist. The iPhone has to focus on something or else there's no video. So what I'm going to do is, back behind me in the fall colored leaves, I'm just going to kind of run the camera and run the iPhone through the leaves and see how they focus and how they react in that sort of environment. So I'm going to go ahead and do that test now, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about it. Here's the clip starting with the iPhone. Okay, so clip number one, that was a really smooth focus pull. Wow, that was a really nice focus pull. And so was that. That was pretty impressive. I honestly did not see that coming for the iPhone. I thought that it would be much more jerky, but the bokeh even looked real, even though I know it's fake. And the focus pulling that it did was really smooth, and the autofocus hit those leaves very fast. Let's check out the Canon. Okay, so the Canon M50 first. Oh, that was, the first clip was a little jerky. Okay, that clip looked nice, I think. And that clip looked nice. It was a little bit jerky. I want to see the footage side by side before I make a decision. Let's look at the iPhone beside of the Canon M50. Okay, so the first clip. Okay. The second clip. Okay. The final clip. Interesting. So, honestly, this is a tough decision, but I truly think that the iPhone had better focus pulling, and even in the second clip I noticed that the M50 lost focus in the middle of the leaves and it went out to like the tip of the leaf, which is not where it should have been focusing, but the iPhone stayed locked on. And so for the first point in this comparison video, I think that I'm going to be giving the point to the iPhone. So that's 1 point for the iPhone. It's gotten a little cloudy on me, but that's not going to affect this next test, and it wouldn't affect any test because we've got the iPhone and the Canon M50 in real world experiences, and we're testing them out in the real world, which is perfect. This next test that I'm going to do is something that I'm actually excited about, and it's stabilization. I think the Canon M50 is really good at stabilizing its footage in camera. I'm not sure about the specs of IBIS or anything like that. I've never really looked into it. It's always did great for me. And most of the time it's on a tripod, but when it's not on a tripod, it still does great. But I also know that the iPhone has some of the most steady and stabilized footage ever. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of sprint in this direction a couple times, take a couple videos of me sprinting, and do some with the Canon M50 and do some with the iPhone, and then I'm going to compare them just like I did the autofocus shots from the last test. So I'm going to get to running and get sweaty and lose my breath and show how out of shape I am. So how fun. Okay, so let's review the footage. I think it's going to be a no-brainer. I already think the iPhone's going to win, but let's see. We're going to start with the iPhone, and keep in mind this footage is without stabilization. Wow, it's shaky, but to be doing a full sprint, that is not bad at all. That's pretty impressive. Let's check the second clip that is still the iPhone. Okay, not as good as the first, but it's not awful. It's not bad to be doing a full sprint. Let's check the Canon M50. I've got a bad feeling about this. Oh, wow. Wow. Not even comparable. Not even comparable. Let's check the second clip of the M50. Yeah. It's not very good at all. To be honest, I was going to do two different comparisons, one of each clip non-stabilized and another of each clip stabilized, but I'm I'm certain that whichever way it would be done, stabilized or not, the iPhone would definitely look better. If that iPhone footage that I showed you was stabilized, I think it would have looked pretty good, and I'm not even sure you would have been able to tell I was sprinting. The stabilization in any Apple camera product, whether that be an iPad, an iPhone, or whatever, it's always been really great. I'm really impressed with the stabilization in an iPhone. I've never had any camera that can really be as stabilized handheld as you can get with an iPhone. So with that being said, for the aspect of stabilization, once again, the iPhone is going to take another point. You really can't compete any sort of vlogging camera against the stabilization of an iPhone, because there's just not IBIS in vlogging cameras that is going to be as good as the iPhone. So for image stabilization, iPhone is taking the point yet again. So after sprinting, I think I have earned my right to have a seat. I'm about to do the third test, which is testing the audio. It's going to be straight out of the camera and straight out of the phone. And I'm going to listen and see how the audio sounds. So I think I know who's going to win this. But that's yet to be determined. And just like I have the other two times, I'll put both the footage from this and the footage from this on your screens with the audio this time, so you can hear how I sound straight out of camera from this and straight out of camera from this. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. Okay, right before I start, I just want to go ahead and clarify I'm doing the Canon M50 first. So let's go ahead and listen to that audio. First up, we got the Canon M50. This is my test of the audio in the Canon M50. Test 1, 2, 3. How do I sound? How do I sound? Test 1, 2, 3. This is the audio straight out of the camera. Okay, so that actually sounds much better than I thought it would, honestly, but I was picking up on some background noise. I think it was the wind or something, and it is a little bit echoey, but not bad, honestly. Let's check out the iPhone. This is me testing the audio in the iPhone. How do I sound? This is the audio in the iPhone. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. How do I sound? Do I sound good? Do I sound crisp? Do I sound clear? Are you sitting in front of me? Can you hear me? Test 1, 2, 3. So that sounded much better than the Canon M50, I think. But both of them are definitely doable, and I could see using either one. I know built-in camera mics typically aren't that good, but the Canon M50 is a lot better than some, because I've worked with a lot of cameras where their in-camera microphone is just really bad, just straight rubbish. It's just terrible, and that wasn't that bad. However, for me, the iPhone definitely had the better microphone, and I'm sure that's because on a phone it's meant for talking, so obviously it's gonna put really good quality into a microphone. So in terms of the microphone and the audio, I am going to have to give a third point in a row to the iPhone. However, this next test, I got a pretty good feeling that things are going to change, but right now the third point for the audio is going to the iPhone. Also, one more thing really quick, notice the different quality in the two cameras on those video clips. The Canon M50 looks much more crisp and clear, and it's handling the backlight much better than the iPhone. You can tell that it has a higher dynamic range from those two videos. So the fourth thing that I'm wanting to test today is video quality. This is kind of a debatable topic, I feel like, and here's why. Because technically the iPhone can shoot 4K 30 frames per second, and the Canon M50 can only do 1080p and 60 frames per second. So a lot of people are going to say, well, obviously the iPhone is going to have better video because it shoots 4K. But I have to disagree. I've not did the test yet. I'll let you determine it for yourselves. But before I even do the testing, I'm going to go ahead and give the point for this to the Canon M50. Obviously, we're going to review it, and I'm going to talk a little bit more on why that I'm giving the point to the Canon M50. But I think when you see the side-by-side footage, you're kind of going to understand. Anyways, it just looks nicer on the M50, and that's probably for a variety of reasons, such as lenses and the sensor and just the all-around capabilities of an actual camera against an iPhone. A lot of people think that just because it's 4K, it's going to be better, but sensor size and sharpness and bokeh, there's a lot of things that kind of go into making this have better video quality more than just the technical specs of the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up some footage on your screen, so we're going to talk about it a little more in depth. And I'm going to let you determine what video footage you like better, but I think it's no doubt that it's the Canon. So let's go ahead and look at some of the footage starting with the iPhone. Okay, so that wasn't terrible, but I definitely think that the Canon is going to look much better. So let's go ahead and give it a look. So I think this test definitely went pretty much exactly how I expected. So the point does go to the Canon, like I said. For me, the footage that was shown for the Canon M50 just looked a lot better. I think it looked more compressed. It obviously had much nicer bokeh, I think, than the iPhone did, which we'll talk about a little later in the video. For me, it's just cleaner footage. I also think the autofocus was better, and I like the perspective better. When you're doing horizontal video on the iPhone of yourself, I'm using the back camera for all of these tests, and I think that the way that your arm looks when you're holding it out to capture a video of yourself, I think it looks kind of awkward in the video, and it makes your arm appear to be really long where the lens is pretty wide angled. And with the Canon M50 lens, you can get a more compressed look. And I know that's not necessarily the camera itself, but you just don't have the capabilities of changing lenses with the iPhone. So for me, the Canon M50 has the pretty obvious advantage when it comes to video quality. Something else that I noticed that I want to talk about really quickly here is that on the Canon M50, when I would turn around and there was backlighting, there wouldn't be like a weird blur, a weird smudge that was like a sun flare thing. But with the iPhone, anytime I would be in backlight, there would be this really weird kind of, I don't know, smudge that would appear in like the top left corner. Feel free to rewind the video and look at that. But for me, the Canon M50 is the obvious winner here, so I'm going to be giving the point to the Canon M50. Today's video is sponsored by D-Soon. D-Soon has amazing top-of-the-line products for any outdoor enthusiast, especially photographers. Some of their amazing products include trail cameras, time-lapse cameras, and binoculars. Today in particular, I want to talk about their time-lapse camera. The time-lapse camera T2100 is the best time-lapse camera that I have ever worked with. It's got amazing quality, and in fact, all of the time lapses that you're going to see throughout today's video was taken on the Dsoon T2100. One of my favorite things about the Dsoon T2100 is the simple user interface. Literally anyone could go into there and set up a time lapse. Whether you've worked with 10,000 cameras, 1 camera, 2 cameras, 3 cameras, or no cameras at all, it's so easy to go in there, and the user interface is just so friendly to anyone. It gives you step-by-step directions on how to set up whatever time-lapse that you would like to set up. Upon the package's arrival to your home, there's going to be a variety of things inside. The first thing that you're going to be seeing inside is the time-lapse camera itself. It's also going to include a variety of mounts in case you want to attach it to a tree or up on your home and use it as like a security camera or whatever you would like to use it for. It also comes with a micro SD card that's 32 gigabytes, and that's very handy because SD cards can be expensive if you're going through a lot. And so the fact that Dsoon cares enough to place an SD card in its packaging without any additional charging shows how great of a company that they are. If you want to get your very own T2100 Dsoon time-lapse camera, you can go to www.dsoonhunt.com. Or you can go down below to the pinned comment, click on it, and scroll down till you see Dsoon and click again. Remember, if you go to the pinned comment and use that link, it's going to help me out a lot. If you're wanting to save 15% off at checkout, you can use the code RYLAN in all capital letters to get 15% off the entire store. So once again, a huge thank you to Dsoon for sponsoring today's video, and the T2100 is an absolute amazing time-lapse camera. So even though I already know good and well how this test is going to end up, the fourth test that I'm going to be doing is testing the bokeh on the iPhone against the Canon M50. If you don't know what bokeh is, it's basically the background blur that is provided to you by the camera. So like when you have a close-up photo of somebody's face and you'll notice that the background is blurred out and out of focus, that is called bokeh. So for this test, the built-in iPhone camera does have bokeh, but it's only for photos and not for videos. So for the video of this, I'm actually going to be, for the video of this on the iPhone, sorry, I'm going to be doing it on Snapchat because they are the only app that I have on my phone that allows you to have bokeh during video. iPhone hasn't implemented that yet into their built-in camera. So I'm going to go ahead and do this test of the iPhone and the M50, and I'm going to start with the M50 and then you'll see the iPhone footage. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on your screens and we're going to review it and talk about it. So let's go ahead and start with the footage from the Canon M50 like I said. Okay, so as you can tell, back behind me, don't look at me, let's look behind me, notice the background blur. Looks pretty good, especially when the lens is more compressed. Now granted, when I go wider like that, it's not as good, but it's still really nice and clean, I think. Now let's check out the iPhone. And boy is it a nightmare. And granted, this was shot on Snapchat, but there's not really any other option because there's not any other apps that I'm aware of personally that have really good background blur. And while the blur on that is good, it's very obvious that it's fake, and it's far from perfect. As you notice when I spin around and stuff, there are a lot of blotches that aren't even covered with the fake background blur. So as I mentioned, I thought that the point was going to go to the Canon M50, but I just want to clarify that the point for this test is obviously going to the Canon M50. So far, I've not saw anything on any camera, on any phone camera, sorry, that can beat the Gaussian background blur, the bokeh, that is on an actual camera. A lot of phones are simulating Gaussian blur, and it looks good. And granted, in picture mode, a lot of the phones are getting pretty close to accurate background blur, but I don't think that we're ever really gonna see true what true blur looks like on a camera on any sort of phone, even an iPhone, which is supposed to be top of the line. So in conclusion, the point for this round is going to go to the Canon M50. So the next test that I'm going to be doing today is focal length, and I'm pretty much just going to go ahead and tell you that the Canon M50 is the winner of this, because the M50 is the only camera that you're technically going to be getting focal length with. And by focal length, I mean the ability to change lenses. This lens that I'm using today is a 15 to 45 millimeter. However, you can buy prime lenses that are 50 millimeters. You can buy zoom lenses that are going to go up to 500 millimeters. You can get lens adapters, so you can use other Canon lenses on this besides the M series lenses. Whereas on the iPhone, you're able to zoom in and out during video, but it's not actually changing your focal length, because there's two built-in cameras on this iPhone in particular, a super wide angle and a regular angle, which is a wide angle. It's a super wide and a wide. That's all that there is on this iPhone in particular. However, when recording on the iPhone, you're able to kind of use your fingers in a certain motion, such as like you're zooming in on a picture, you're zooming out on a picture, and it's gonna change how close or far you are from the subject. But technically, all it's doing, since it's a fixed lens, is basically cropping. Cropping back and cropping in is like pretty much what it's doing, because it's not actually able to zoom. Whereas with this is made of glass, so as you zoom, it's actually switching inside of the lens, making it actually closer rather than cropping it in the camera. So you're going to get better quality from your focal length when shooting with the Canon M50 than you're going to get with an iPhone. So for the next test that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be knocking out 3 categories in one. So each of these 3 things that I'm going to be talking about, the phone or the M50 one is going to get a point. The 3 categories are portability, durability, and weight. So the first thing I want to talk about is portability. Both of these are very portable. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I can fit a phone pretty much anywhere. It fits in my pocket even. And even the M50, it'll fit in a sweatshirt pocket. If I'm wearing jogging pants, it'll fit in jogging pants pockets. It fits in the shorts pockets I have on today. But all of that depends on the lens, and I'm using a wide-angled lens today, which is a 15 to 45. So it compresses down and it fits in there. But if I had on a really long lens, this isn't going to be very portable, and I'm going to need some sort of bag to put this in. Whereas the iPhone, it's always portable, and it's never going to change regardless. Regardless, it's not going to get any less portable. That's just how it is. That's how it's made. So the point for portability goes to the iPhone. Now for durability, you know, this is honestly kind of a toss-up. I don't think either one of these is really more durable than the other. However, I am going to give the durability point to the Canon M50, and that's because it's compact. I feel safe getting this out in harsh weather. I would take this to the beach. I wouldn't be worried about sand getting into it or anything. And all that goes for the iPhone as well, but there's much more glass and breakable parts, I feel like, on the iPhone. You've got a way higher chance of shattering your iPhone than you're going to have of shattering the Canon M50. And I just dropped my phone, and I would have honestly felt better dropping the M50 just then than I did my phone, just because this is very compact. It's a very solid plastic and plaster, and it even has a rubber grip. I think that the Canon M50, excluding the lens, is more durable than the iPhone. However, it is possible to get cases for iPhones, which is why it's a little bit of a toss-up. But nonetheless, I think the Canon M50 is still going to be winning on that test. Now for weight. When I hold these out, and obviously I'm counting the M50 with the lens because the Canon M50 by itself is useless without a lens. So when I'm holding this out right now, the iPhone is much lighter than the M50. And I'm not necessarily saying it's much lighter, but there's a noticeable difference. It's not a huge difference, but it's noticeable enough for me to determine that the iPhone is much lighter than the M50. Not to mention, it's still lighter, and I have an OtterBox case on this phone, which is obviously adding some weight. So if you're using a phone without a case, or even a less durable case, the iPhone's going to be even lighter than the M50 would be. So for weight, a point goes to the iPhone. For portability, a point goes to the iPhone. And for durability, a point goes to the Canon M50. So for this next test, I'm also going to be knocking out 3 birds with 1 stone. Quite literally, because I'm going to be doing 3 tests in this category. All of these tests have to do kind of with looking at the footage that you're getting from the cameras. So the 3 categories are reviewing your footage, the LCD screen that you're reviewing your footage on, and the sharing capabilities that you're going to get right after you produce your footage. So the first thing is reviewing your footage. On a Canon M50, you can instantly get on here right after recording and press the box with an arrow in it, and you're able to just kind of swipe through the different video clips that you've done. And then my favorite thing to do is press the Q, and it gives you just an absolute variety of options. It lets you do image jumps and shows you the date and the time that it was made. It allows you to protect and erase your images, and you can even search like based on the conditions in the camera. You can give it a 1 to 5 star rating. You can even put like filters and stuff on it. You can protect it so you don't accidentally delete it or something. There's just all sorts of things that you can do when reviewing the footage on here. On the iPhone, you can scroll and scan the footage, which you can also do that on this. But in order to edit it, there's not really anything that you can do right on the photo app that you view the video on. You have to go into an external app. You go into iMovie, or you do something else. There's no way to protect your footage on an iPhone. Now, I'm not saying that after every video I take, I go in here and put a little marking so I don't accidentally delete footage. But if you're doing client work, or if you're shooting a really important YouTube video and it's footage and things that you don't want to lose, I think it's important to be able to go in and press a button so you don't accidentally delete something. Because I can't tell you the amount of times I'm on an iPhone and I'm scrolling through different videos, and then I'll accidentally delete a video that I didn't want to delete. And that just sucks, because there's not really any way of getting it back easily. So for reviewing your footage, I'm going to be giving a point to the Canon M50. The next thing that I want to talk about is the LCD screen that you're reviewing your footage on. So I don't have the specs of the LCD screen on the Canon M50, and I don't have the specs of the LCD screen on an iPhone. Judging by looking at them side by side, I can't see a huge difference. However, I know that there is a huge difference in the quality. On a Canon M50 for video footage, you're not really going to be zooming in on there, and there's not really a reason to zoom in on video footage when you're reviewing it. But if something happened that you chose to do that, you're going to have better quality zooming in, looking at it on the iPhone. The video footage isn't going to be better quality on the iPhone, but nonetheless, it's going to look better upon reviewing and zooming in than it would on this LCD screen. Something else is the size of the LCD screen. The iPhone screen is probably 2 times, maybe even 2.5 times larger than the LCD screen on the Canon M50. So with that being said, the LCD screen on the iPhone is going to get a point over the LCD screen on the Canon M50. The next category that I'm talking about, which is the sharing capabilities, is the obvious point to the iPhone. When I take a video on my iPhone, I can pull up Instagram, instantly post it. I can go to Facebook, instantly post it. I can upload it to YouTube. I can share it to Snapchat. I can send it to my friends. I can do whatever I want after taking a video on the iPhone. There's no exporting that has to be done. Whereas on the Canon M50, when you take a video, all you can do is replay it on the camera. In order to share it with people, you have to get out the SD card, or Canon does have an app that I think you can upload it to your phone, but the app sucks. There's no way around that. The app is absolute garbage for sharing any sort of footage, any sort of photos, video. It just sucks. So the iPhone gets the obvious point for sharing capabilities. So that's 1 point to the Canon for the reviewing your footage, and that's 2 points to the iPhone for the LCD screen and for sharing your footage. So now that I've established that, we're going to move on to the next categories that we are doing for the comparison video. Look, I accidentally turned on my flashlight. Whoops. Anyways, moving on. So the next thing that I want to talk about is accessories. You can get a variety of accessories for iPhones when it comes to video. You can get different sort of lenses and stuff that you can put on the lenses that you're already given, but I've always found that those don't work good, and they don't look good, and they can sort of distort your photos and your videos a lot, especially video footage. Photos you can kind of make it work, but when it comes to video footage, external lenses don't really work that great on an iPhone. Something else that you can get for iPhones is filters. I've found that those don't usually look good on the iPhone. Maybe some do. I've not had any luck with that. And you can also get like little microphones and stuff. On a lot of the newer iPhones, it's difficult to do because that actually has to go into your charging port, and they work better going into a headphone port. So sometimes you have to have like the charger to the headphone adapter and then plug it into there, and then you've got to find a way to mount it onto the iPhone, and none of that is very ideal. On the Canon M50, you can get screw-on filters. They work great. They can make your video look like 10 times better, not even being dramatic. You can get a microphone that just sits on the hot shoe and it plugs directly into the headphone jack, or the microphone jack, I'm sorry, and it works great. It works beautifully. Crisp audio, beautiful video footage. So when it comes to buying accessories, you can probably even get a vertical grip for it. I don't know if you would need that for video. I'm not sure if they make that for the Canon M50. I've never needed it. But I mean, there's just a variety of accessories that are going to work way better on cameras than you're going to get for iPhones, because those sort of accessories are made for cameras, and then there's other companies coming in and saying, oh, I'm going to make this to integrate it into an iPhone, and it just doesn't work as good when they do that. So in this scenario, the Canon M50 is going to win for accessories. So that's another point to the Canon M50. So next thing is next. The next test is battery life. The point for this goes to the iPhone for obvious reasons. You don't have to switch batteries on an iPhone. You just plug it in and charge it whenever you please. An iPhone is made to do a lot more things than just create video footage with. So obviously it's going to have a longer battery life because you're scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through Facebook, you're doing phone calls, making texts. So obviously the iPhone battery life is going to be a lot longer than the Canon M50. The Canon M50 does get a much better battery life than you would expect. However, when it's cold outside, you are going to notice that the Canon M50 battery life is going to go down much faster. But so does the iPhone for that matter. But nonetheless, the point for battery life is going to go to the iPhone. So the next point is also going to be going to the iPhone, and that is recording limit. And what that means is, if you're not familiar with cameras, most cameras have a recording time limit that you can record before they cut off to prevent overheating. The Canon M50 has a record time limit of 30 minutes. Obviously with the iPhone you can record as long as you want in whatever quality. So that's something that is kind of bad about the Canon M50. But very rarely do I find myself recording clips that are longer than 30 minutes, even for YouTube. Most of the time there's some sort of cutscene where I'm stopping recording for a few minutes or a few seconds, and when you stop, it obviously starts over at 30 minutes. And I've never had any sort of overheating issues or anything with the Canon M50, and I don't think it's ever really cut me off while I've been talking because I've gone over my record limit. So 30 minutes is a long time. It's a lot to work with. It doesn't sound like that long, but when you're standing in front of a camera talking, very rarely are you going to be going over that 30-minute marker. So that's good, that's great even, but nonetheless the iPhone does have an unlimited time limit when it comes to recording, so the point is going to the iPhone. So the last test isn't really a test at all, it's a comparison. In fact, a lot of these are more comparisons than tests, but you can call it whatever you'd like. And the last thing that I want to discuss is the price. The price of an iPhone 11, which is the iPhone that I'm using today, is about $550 brand new. And that's the 128 gigabyte version unlocked. It's going to cost you about $550. The Canon M50 with the 15 to 45 millimeter lens, I believe, is going to set you back about $850, or it might be $800. Let me double check this. I don't want to tell you. It's $800. Wait, yeah, it's $800. So the Canon M50 Mark II, brand new, is going to set you back $800, whereas the iPhone 11 is going to set you back $550. So in terms of price, the iPhone gets another point, and you can do a lot more with an iPhone than just record video. But keep in mind, this comparison and these tests are specifically aimed towards video, but nonetheless, the iPhone still gets the point. So I'm going to take you all back with me into my office, and I'm going to give you my closing thoughts, and I'm going to tell you what I would buy, the Canon M50 or the iPhone 11. So let's head back to my office, and we're going to talk about the results and add up all the points. So I'm back in my office, and things actually surprised me after my initial round of testing. After my initial round of testing, I did 16 different tests performing the Canon M50 Mark II, might I add, against the iPhone 11. And, well, the final results were the iPhone 11 had 10 points and the Canon M50 only had 6. So I knew that wasn't true, so I wanted to look at a few more aspects that just make more sense to talk about when comparing a phone against a camera. So I wrote some of them down, and one of the first things that I want to talk about is the articulating screen that you get on a Canon M50. This was something that I didn't mention in the video because I thought, well, on an iPhone you have an entire back screen, and when you use the rear-facing camera, you can see yourself just fine. But fact of the matter is, if you want to get the best quality, you're going to be using the front forward-facing camera. So with that, you can't see yourself, and there's no articulating screen on a phone. If you're holding your phone way above your head or something to video, you're not going to be able to tilt your screen down to look at it. So the articulating screen is an extra point for the Canon M50. Something else that I tested was autofocus, but I feel like when I judged it, I was more judging the focus pulling, like how smooth was the transition from one focus point to another. And in that round of testing, I decided that the iPhone was better. But fact of the matter is, when it comes to autofocus with face detect and subject tracking, there's very few entry-level cameras to video that are going to be better than the Canon M50. And when it comes to face detect and subject tracking, like I said, no one is going to beat the Canon M50, especially the iPhone. So I want to give another point to the Canon M50. Storage. That's something that I hadn't thought to discuss. An iPhone obviously has limited storage, and if you exceed your storage, not only are you not able to record a video and take photos, but you're not going to be able to do much else on the phone either. Whereas with the Canon M50, when you fill up your storage, you take out one SD card and put in another, and it's just entire new it's just like you're starting over from scratch. I mean, you don't have to worry about running out of storage because you just put in a new SD card anytime that you need more storage. It's as easy as that, honestly. I mean, it's very handy to be able to use an SD card rather than have to rely on internal storage inside of a camera. The last topic that I'm going to talk about is manual settings. I think it's very important to talk about manual settings on a camera because with an iPhone you're not able to change your shutter speed, your ISO, and your aperture during video. You can change it on photos if you go into Lightroom, the Lightroom mobile app, but we're talking about videos, and you're not going to be able to do manual settings for your camera when it comes to video. So I just wanted to say that when it comes to manual settings, you're able to do that on a Canon M50 and you can't on your iPhone. So that's another point to the Canon M50. So with more thoughts and with more circumstances that I threw that I talk about that I feel like needed to be added in just to kind of make it fair, I performed 20 tests overall, and that left a score of 10 to 10. So honestly, it comes down to personal preference and what you're looking for. If you're wanting a camera that is a real camera and it's going to make you look professional and it makes you feel like you're a YouTuber, if that's what you're wanting, or if you're wanting really good subject tracking, really good face detect, you want the highest quality video possible, that's exceptionally important to you. If you want to ensure that it doesn't look fake, if you want that really crisp and beautiful background blur with a nice bokeh, you're probably going to want to go with the Canon M50. If you're wanting something that's very portable, it's a versatile thing. It can do more than just record. If you're looking for a device that you can record your video on and then just instantly upload it to Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever, the iPhone is going to be a better choice for you. So it really, I think it comes down to two things, and that is quality and versatility. If you're wanting quality and you want to make sure that your video footage is going to look the best as possible, you're going to want to go with the Canon M50. And if you're looking for something that's versatile that you're going to be able to record something on and instantly post it, go with the iPhone. I really don't think there's anything wrong with either choice. Personally, I want my videos to have the highest quality and look professional. The fact that I am a professional photographer, quality is something that's very important to me. And I feel like the Canon M50 is definitely the better choice for me personally when it comes to video production. A few more things that I want to add. I am not sponsored by Canon or Apple, so all of the tests that I performed today were 100% non-biased and just my opinion, straight up. Straight up, they were just my opinion. I also want to add that the footage that you saw in today's video was not color graded. It was all straight out of the camera. It was straight out of my iPhone. It was straight out of the Canon M50. I did not make any adjustments to any of the footage that I was testing. I also want to add, and I did add this earlier in the video, the iPhone 11 is the iPhone that I'm using for this video, and the Canon M50 is the Canon M50 Mark II. So it's the Mark II, it's not the original Canon M50. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. It does help me out a lot when you go down below and hit that like button and you subscribe and you turn on your notifications and click that share button, send this video to a friend. If you want my opinion on what I would use personally, I'm going to go 100% with the Canon M50. Although the iPhone camera quality is great and I've used it in some of my videos before when I don't have the Canon with me or I don't want to bother with getting out the Canon out of my camera bag. At the end of the day, when anyone asks me what video camera that I would recommend to them, it's going to be the Canon M50 Mark II. I want to thank you all once again so much for watching today's video. Of course, I also want to thank DSoon and their amazing TL2100 camera for sponsoring today's video. Thanks so much everyone for watching, and that's all I've got. I hope you all have an amazing day.